Hey everyone, welcome back to the District 3 podcast, episode 261. My name is Idavine.
And this is Elena.
And Elena, you've been talking a little bit about watching the Olympics. Have you actually had the time to sit down and watch all these different types of sports?
I work for NBC.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. So
we have the Olympics on. My coworker is in Paris reporting.
Oh, I think, is it Alyssa?
Yeah, Alyssa's out there. That. So we are huge on the Olympics at work. So, and I have Peacock, so I've been watching it nonstop.
So how does that work? Is she like reporting for a specific show locally, or what is she doing over there?
So she was chosen like nationally. So they kind of grabbed a bunch of reporters nationally to go out there and report for all of like NBC stations and like News Nation and like some of the Next Star affiliates that we have and stuff. So she's reporting across the United States. I think she finally stopped yesterday. So now she's just reporting for us specific. And so she just kind of does like live shots out in Paris nonstop. She said that she only had one day off. So she hasn't really had the chance to explore Paris, but she's definitely enjoying it.
What are some things of the Olympics that you've enjoyed, like any kind of sport specifically?
Track. And soccer. France and who are playing
Spain?
right now? Yeah, they're playing right now. It's a tie. Right, it's 3-3. Yeah.
Oh wow. I think then tomorrow's the gold medal for the women. It's the U.S. versus Brazil.
Yeah, that's gonna be such a fun game.
We'll be watching at the Odd Soul at 10 a.m. In case anybody. By the point this episode comes out, it's gonna be too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna try to go watch it there in the morning, and there's a lot of fun stuff. Like I enjoyed the gymnastics.
Yes.
I always like seeing Team USA compete in the gymnastics. I enjoy watching Noah Lyles run as well. Did you see that he had COVID and he ran that last?
I watched it. Yeah, it was just like, oh my gosh! I saw him fall to the ground. I was like,
That's wild, because I heard that you're not supposed to do like hard exercise when you have COVID. Because there's like risks for your heart and for breathing, and then he also has asthma too.
Yes.
So
and he still got bronze.
And he had got the gold medal before too, right?
Well, he ran the 200 and he got bronze in 200. The 100 he got gold.
But he had to leave, I think, early.
So he couldn't run right now. They just did the 4x1 for men's, and we lost. We got like 6th or 7th place.
Oh, dang.
It was tough, but Noah wasn't on there. We did a bad handoff. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun keeping up with the Olympics. There has been it's strange to see how people try to like sway it, and like try to push an agenda. Like we kind of saw with women's boxing, where there was it looked like there was an article that like misstated someone's gender, right?
It was for Iman.
Yeah.
Iman was her name. I think her last name might have been...
I don't know.
Was it Khalif? I think
was
maybe.
It Khalif? Yeah.
But it was Iman for sure. Imane. And a lot of people were saying that she was a man. And were pretty much stating it as if it was fact.
Yeah.
I think even Elon Musk, who owns X or
Elon
Twitter,
doesn't surprise me, though.
was sharing all these different things. And I'm like, a simple Google search will show you what the truth is. But I just feel like people just get so easily dragged by their emotions and then just are impulsive with their actions. But they don't realize that what dangers they can put this person in, because, I mean, she's from Algeria. And in Algeria, I know they have some like anti-trans sentiments over there. The government does. And who knows what kind of danger she can be put in when the whole wide world is saying that she is trans.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was really unfortunate that people don't take the time to like look into things before they share it.
Yeah, well, I did see a lot of people share misinformation and then were taught right information, and then, went back and said, hey, I was wrong. And a lot of people kind of talked about what estrogen and proestrogen mean and how some women might have lower estrogen, and those effects that have on, on the body, and actual things that happen to everyday women that we know, growing extra facial hair or, being moody, like all of these things that we can't control, that our body, doesn't regulate, because it also opened the door into women's like running, how some people couldn't run because they didn't have high enough estrogen. And that happens a lot in sports. And, I think it's an important topic because gender is fluid. It shows it in our chromosomes and in our hormones.
And it just feels like people are always trying to move the goalpost as to like what a woman is. And it's like if they, even the people that had their own like definition of, oh, this is what a woman is, like they were moving the goalpost and they were saying, no, this is not a woman. It's like, okay, so then you get to define what a woman is, you know, is super problematic. I got into like 4 or 5 debates on Facebook about this. So if I like clap back at your grandma or like your aunt on Facebook, I apologize. But we had to show people like, yo, you can't be just sharing false information.
That's true.
You know, but anyways, to the side, I'm excited about today's guest when we're talking about an important subject here locally. Joining us today is the development director and the bilingual advocate, 2 people, Taylor McKinney and Odalys Serrano, from the NWA Center for Sexual Assault. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
No, I'm glad y'all are here. And like we were talking before we started recording, this subject is important not only to me, but to other people in our community. And it's just a great opportunity to educate people. And then also just to show people like there's these kind of resources in your community. And if you're going through something like this, please take advantage of these resources. And we've never had either one of you on. So a little bit background information from you all. Where are y'all originally from?
Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
You can start.
Okay. So I'm from around central Arkansas. It's a town called Mount Vernon. The population sign is 170-something people.
Oh, wow.
I know because I scratched it off when I left there after high school.
You were like 169.
Pretty much. I was so ready to move. I grew up raising dairy cattle and on a small hobby farm, and studied animal science. Came up here to the University of Arkansas in 2016 to complete my bachelor's degree. Stayed for graduate school and wanted to get involved in making the world a little bit better. So segued away from agriculture and into like some social justice and just trying to, I don't know, find and connect with people that were taking action here locally to change some of the things that I was seeing that were wrong.
Okay.
I think one of those things led me to working at the NWA Center for Sexual Assault because Arkansas has the second highest rape rate in the country, which is not something that I knew before I started working in this job, but I knew culturally that we had some problems. So I'm really grateful to be in the position that I'm in and to get to be spreading the message around Northwest Arkansas that we are a safe haven of healing and hope for all adult survivors.
Thanks for sharing that. How about you, Odalys?
So I was originally born in Salinas, California, but I moved here. No way, twins!
Salinas, California.
Yes.
I was just there 2 weeks ago.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't remember a lot of it. I go visit, but we moved here when I was 4 just because there was more work opportunity for my parents. And
do you remember what hospital?
Oh, I do not.
So there's 2. It's
I was going to say
it's Natividad or Memorial Hospital.
Natividad,
okay.
yes, because I was looking at my birth certificate the other day. Yes, I was like,
that's the only reason I know, because of my birth certificate too.
Yeah, but I've been here since I was 4, 26 now, so it's been a while. I can't really say I'm from California anymore. But yeah, I just graduated with my social work bachelor's degree at the U of A, and
woo woo.
Yeah, woo woo. We made it, first generation. But yeah, I found out about the center through another social worker. She was like, "Hey, I think you would be really good here." I didn't even know about the NWA Center for Sexual Assault until then, until I applied. And when I interviewed, they were telling me about all the diversity at work, and I think that was like the main thing that made me decide to accept the job here, just because I needed more diversity. We need more diversity. But yeah.
Do you so you moved from Salinas? Do you still have any family over there?
Yes, I have one tia left. Everybody else moved over here because of the promise of work. I have one tia who actually just came for a wedding, but they were all telling me, like, there's always a room for you over there if you want to go, like, do your social work thing over there. So now I'm battling, like, do I want to stay here? Do I want to start a life over there? Plus, my cousin just had a baby, and I'm like, I want to be a tia. Like, so it's just, you know, family is so important, and I hate that they're, like, I love that they're over there because they get to stick with the values. It's like El Rancho where they're at. but I miss them so much. I wish I could just have all my family here. So, yeah.
Have, like, your guys' family values and, like, the way that you were raised, do you see some of those things that you've learned impact the work that you're doing today?
That's a great question. Do you have an answer, Odalys?
I do, yeah.
I'll let you start.
I was just going to say, like, it's definitely made me kind of, I guess you would call it, like, a party pooper. There's jokes that are made within the community. Like, for example, te pegan, and there's things that I'm more, like, no nonsense about now, and I have been called out, like, hey, like, they're just joking. I'm like, yeah, but these jokes are what perpetuate rape culture. And so, like, even me just starting working here has slowly, like, taught my family more about rape culture or sexual assault. And like,
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
And I've used that phrase before.
Yeah.
And you know what it means in our culture. It means more like oh, like you're not allowed to go out. Your wife's gonna hit you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you get here late, but like you just opened the whole like oh wow.
It's
think about it that way.
Kind of crazy to see like how much it's embedded into like the jokes that we make with our family and like everything. And you know, even when I first started, I had a family member be like, hey, I have a coworker whose wife is bien tóxica, super toxic. Like, should I give him your card? And I was like, in a serious voice, I was like, if you think that he is in danger, absolutely. And like, they were saying that as a joke, and me taking it completely seriously kind of killed their vibe or whatever they said. But I think it's just important, especially for the older generation, to kind of like reparent, reteach them, like, this is not okay. Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely affected family parties, I will say.
If I can jump on, growing up in this small town and being the first generation college student that I am of my family as well, Odalys, there was a friend of my stepdad's, like a family friend that would come up to our farm, and I remember him when I announced that I wanted to go to college, that this was my life dream, to go to college and get an education and make something for myself and learn about the world. His answer was, oh, you're going to go get the MRS degree. And now having a master's degree, I'm like, well, no, but I have the MS degree. But it was this, in order for you to be anything in the world, you have to have a man or a partner attached to you. And it's like that mentality still very much is present in Arkansas and in this culture. And it goes hand in hand with rape culture, because then, you know, you don't feel like you have access to resources to leave someone that is this toxic or abusive or harming you. And that goes hand in hand with domestic violence, sexual assault, and all of these other oppressive systemic barriers that I think everybody faces in some capacity.
You mentioned that Arkansas was number 2 in, what was the correct term? Is it incidence of rape, or what would be the correct term to?
It was, we're number 2 in raped, and that's specific to rape, not all forms of sexual assault or harassment. So sexual assault, rape is a form of sexual assault, but not all sexual assault is rape.
Does that have any kind of like parallel or anything to do with the fact that we have like a big university here that can contribute?
Yeah,
number-wise?
So that's a great question. A majority of the clients that we do serve are college age. A lot of them come from around the University of Arkansas, or from the University of Arkansas itself. Just having this, in any college town, you're going to see an incident. And when you have, you know, local bar scenes maybe contributing to that incident, we have to be vigilant, and we have to make sure that we're taking care of and speaking up when we see something, we say something, and just really look out for your friends and your family.
What does the process look like if someone is going to report something, or they're going to report something that they're going through at the moment? They call you, they call the number, I'm guessing a hotline, and what does the process look like from that point?
I think that's a great question for Odalys to answer, because she's one of the advocates that takes those phone calls.
Yeah, so it definitely depends on the survivor. If the survivor has been assaulted within the last 96 hours, and if they're comfortable, we can provide the rape kit clinic in office. We have it's like a little doctor's office in office. And so they can call 24 hours, 7 days a week, whenever it happens, whenever they feel comfortable. We'll have an advocate on call, and so they'll call. We take the call, we take the information. We have to make sure that it's within that 96-hour window. And then we call the nurse, set it up. We meet at the center. And we kind of, before the nurse gets there with the survivor, we kind of walk them through, like, this is what's going to happen. This is what all this means. And we try to set, like, the standard, like, you are in charge. Whenever you want to stop, we will stop. If you want to take a pause, if you want to, you're in charge. So I try to reiterate that constantly throughout the process, because I know it's a little intimidating, especially when a nurse is asking you these really personal questions, because they have to be thorough.
Yeah.
And it's very uncomfortable.
What are some of the questions that the nurses would ask?
They'll ask, like, were you assaulted with genitals or fingers with the mouth? And it can also re-trigger, some of the questions re-trigger memories.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, and so, depending on where in the process the survivor is at, if they're not really, if they're, like, disassociated, maybe it won't trigger them, maybe it'll trigger a memory, which also can be helpful, because sometimes our brain, to protect ourselves, kind of forgets things or tucks them somewhere else. And so a question might trigger a memory, which will help with, like, the nurse and how they help. But yeah, so we'll do the clinic, and after the clinic, we're able to, if they don't have a ride home, we can get an Uber for them. We give them a discharge packet, which has all of our information and any information that they might need. For example, I had a client that was undocumented, and so I did give them, like, the legal aid number. I let them know that they could call back at the center and I could translate, I could talk to the detective. So, I think we kind of, all the advocates kind of tailor the way that we help to the individual that needs help.
And how much does that process cost you guys?
So it is free for the survivors. Mm-hmm. We have counseling in office, support group, and we do the rape kits, and they're completely free for the survivor. The Uber's completely free.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, it costs the center itself to provide these services for free for survivors. In order to operate our 24/7 crisis hotline, that's about $50 a week. For each exam that we provide with that forensic DNA kit collection, it's about $1,000 per survivor, so per clinic that Odalys has just described. So during that clinic, the advocate, the reason that our center is so special is that when a survivor calls and they have been assaulted, they are not going to be going to a hospital. Or if they go to the hospital, we actually have relationships where the nurses and doctors know to call us, because we have relationships established with every hospital in Northwest Arkansas, with their SANE, which is Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner program, to have one of these contracted nurses come with the survivor. If the survivor was also accompanied with a police detective, then we'll also have the detective there, just to gather information. But we will perform the exam with an advocate in the room with them. So it's like taking a friend to a doctor's appointment with you. And if you can imagine, it's a stressful thing when you first become an adult, and you go to your very first doctor's appointment and you don't know what questions are being asked, or like you're still trying to navigate this process, and it's confusing and it's scary. And that's hard enough when you're going just for a sore throat or for maybe an injured arm. But if you really add in the experience of being assaulted, you are increasing that stress by, a 10 or 100-fold percent, I would imagine. And so the benefit of having an advocate there is to have someone that is advocating for you. So the nurses are doing their job as well and as best they can, and sometimes we miss that emotional aspect or that just support aspect. And so that is the role that the advocate serves. With that, it costs our center approximately $40,000 plus health insurance benefits for each advocate that's on staff, as well as in addition to the advocacy, we provide free counseling services by a professional licensed counselor. And it's about $150 per counseling session. So to kind of recap, it's $50 a week roughly to operate our 24/7 crisis hotline. It's $150 per free counseling session. It's $1,000 to perform that clinical exam with an advocate present. And then we also perform outreach within the community, which also costs, up to, I would say, maybe $10,000 per outreach allotted. Yeah.
How is I guess first of all, before I ask this, if people want to donate to the center, is there a model for that? Is there a way for them to go to like a website or something? How does that work?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So we do accept donations. We are primarily grant funded, but we are trying to become more sustainable and be held together by the community for the community. So if someone wants to make a donation, please go to NWAsexualassault.org, or they can send an email to me at taylor@nwasexualassault.org.
How is the interaction with people whenever y'all table at different events? Because I would think that the interactions would be somewhat interesting if someone's coming to your table. Do you all ever get anybody that you actually help directly that comes to your table whenever they see that it's a center for support of folks that have gone through sexual assault, or is it more they refer someone?
That's a great question. It's mixed. So some people that are, making healing a part of their identity, they're going to see our work and they're going to come to us. They're going to know what we're offering and be seeking out that help. But a majority of people, I would say, see our banner and then turn, tuck tail, and run the other direction because it's such a difficult topic to talk about, and it makes people uncomfortable, which is part of the process that perpetuates this cycle in this culture. We have to talk about problems that we want to find solutions for.
So Arkansas is ranked really low with sexual education, and do you guys kind of see that impact of the lack of sexual education in some of your guys' clients or some of the questions that are asked sometimes?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Or even the way society, I don't say deals, but works through situations of sexual assault. I mean, I think it's like inevitable to think the lack of sexual education in our schools can have a big impact on what's happening, on the way that people are abused, on the way that people react. I feel like we don't talk enough about like just sex in general in school in a way where everybody's knows what to do in different situations. It doesn't have to be just assault. It can be in any other kind of situation. And I think that's kind of sad that we haven't really moved much from the point when I was in that 1 hour class of sex education, and they expected us to know everything and kind of left us more confused than when we went into that room.
Right.
I think it was more like, don't have sex or you'll die. Like, it was just like, don't do it. I don't remember learning anything. I remember learning stuff from older kids and online, but not like school.
Yeah.
What exacerbates that, as far as our center is concerned, we actually, due to federal funding cuts in the last couple of years, lost our prevention education specialist. So we no longer have the ability to go in with colleges and with high schools to help with sexual education and sexual assault prevention specifically.
How many people would you say that you all take in like every month in your center? I'm not sure if you all have kept track of those numbers or not, how that looks like.
Yeah, that's a good question. In terms of the number of clinics that we performed, so those are going to be the phone calls that come in where an assault has taken place within 96 hours of the phone call. We performed 136 clinics last year in 2023. We actually received over 750 phone calls for the total duration of the year in 2023.
Oh, wow.
Now, this is a very hard topic, and but there are so many survivors out there. What are some like good stories that have came out from you guys?
Odalys, do you want to take this one? I have one if you want to think about it.
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
So I was in the front lobby. It was Valentine's Day of 2024, and I was in the front lobby I think probably talking to one of the other advocates, and a client comes in for their counseling session. I'm pretty sure it was a they-them situation, and they had a flower with them. They brought this flower for the counselor, his name is Tyler, and they just wanted to say thank you because the counseling services that Tyler had provided for this survivor had impacted their life such that they wanted to say thank you, and they brought a flower. And I just was so touched by that. And then I approached Tyler afterward to ask him about that experience, and they said not only was this client so appreciative, but this client had a situation, I think, where they were unable to get a haircut prior to seeing Tyler for counseling services. And because of the counseling that they received, they were able to process through some of this trauma and make these changes to their life that benefit them, even just down to as simple as being able to get a haircut again. So really sexual trauma ingrains itself into your body, into your being, because when you're assaulted, it's like you're objectified, and by that I mean it literally turns you into an object for someone else's pleasure, and you're not seen as a human being, and so you, like Odalys said earlier, you disassociate from your body a little bit, and so being able to be brought back, to be talked through the darkness such that you can then reclaim ownership over your body to get a haircut is one of the reasons that the center is so important and why the work we do matters so much.
Yeah.
How are y'all able to, besides the situation that you just mentioned, are there other ways where y'all are able to kind of measure the way that y'all were able to interfere in the lives of these survivors and I don't know, feel some sort of sense of success in the work that y'all do? Is it more through stories of what they tell you, or is there other way of measuring the success of y'all's interference in people's lives and support?
That's a great question. As far as I know, currently our practice is qualitative, so taking those stories. Odalys, do you know of any other methods that are used to measure at the moment from an advocate standpoint?
And I know that's a loaded question too.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I will say there's been instances where we don't necessarily provide a clinic for the survivor. Say, I'm thinking of one specific instance where we had a survivor that was underage, and since we only work with adults, we couldn't help her with that, but we ended up connecting her with the Children's Safety Center. And I think it's just knowing that we're able to connect, even if maybe we can't do something. I had a client that was undocumented, and we ended up connecting them with all sorts of legal aid. And I think, she's going through the process of becoming documented because
I was going to ask you that. I don't know if y'all were doing the legal aid part because they were trying to sue or press charges against whoever the person that assaulted them was, or if that was because there is processes to become a resident if you're undocumented and you get abused or there's any kind of act of violence against you.
Yeah, I think that was one of her worries, was that she didn't want to get deported. And then after we kind of talked through everything, she asked me if there was a way that she could get a green card. And I was like, well, I'm not very knowledgeable on all of that, but I do know that there's these resources, and I will connect you. And if you want me to interpret or anything, I ended up talking to somebody at Legal Aid, and I sent over all the information. And the last I heard, everything's going well. But yeah, it's little things like that. It's not always gonna be a completely happy ending, but you have to take a little win. If it's even connecting them to somebody else, that's a win right there. They didn't know about this resource, well, now they do. And yeah.
So when it comes to your guys' work, since I come from a news background, I go through and I read through a lot of these cases where people are found guilty, and we can read through the brief. We can read through people's trauma. Of course, it's all redacted. But so whenever we talk about these things, some of those things are the first things that pop up in my head. I remember about this case. I remember about that case. I remember about all these people, right, who've actually gone through this. How do you guys manage to, talk about what you guys do, but also know that that's work? And that this is what you're doing right now, if that makes sense.
Are you separating them kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we are very blessed at the center. We get provided self-care, which is counseling. And so that's mandatory. Once a week we go in and we talk about, we don't necessarily have to talk about what we see at work, but I think it's really important to have like a safe space for us as well, where we know that we can talk about like how we feel without it being out there with like where it can get passed on through somebody else. Like we can't go into detail with our own family, but because we're in this safe space where nothing leaves the room, like we're able to kind of deflate from all the emotions that we're feeling and stuff. But it is a little bit hard to not take things personal, at least for myself. I know when I first started, I kind of had some angry feelings towards some people. But yeah, I think like the more that you go through it, you kind of learn to kind of decompartmentalize, like this is work. Yes, it's important. There are things that I have to take now, like day by day. Like I can see like the red flags if I'm out on Dixon. I'm like, this is a really weird situation. Let me keep an eye out. But other than that, I try to just, you just have to kind of, you can't help everybody if you're not helping yourself. So yeah.
That's interesting to point out that you can see the red flags.
Yeah.
I think that makes so much sense. I wonder, one of the conversations that I would like to have with you all too is a lot of times when people talk about like sexual assault or violence against anybody, most people think that it's towards a woman all the time, but there's a lot of men also that are survivors of sexual assault. Number-wise, or just in general, like, do you all end up seeing also a lot of men come through y'all's center as well? Is it, or do y'all see more women, or is it kind of just a mix of both?
That's a great question. That's a great question. We serve all adult survivors, whether that's man, woman, trans, non-binary. We all genders are included, because sexual assault is a universal issue, and just because you're a man or you present as a man in the world does not mean that you are safe or excluded from that possibility. Not that I want everyone to walk around terrified all the time, but just to know that it does happen. So with that, our numbers for 2023, we saw 93% of our clients were female or identified as female. About 5% were male, about 1% were other, and then less than 1% were not reported. So statistically, I would say a majority, an overwhelming majority of the survivors that we performed clinics with and provided services to were female.
And I wonder, I think I've had a conversation with you, before whenever I visited the office, and I told you about like a small experience that I had when I was younger and stuff, and I never even saw it as a big problem until I was more of an adult, and I was like, whoa, that was kind of bad.
Yeah.
And you're one of the few people I talked to about that, and I'm just kind of wondering, like, of other men who have had maybe small situations like I had, but then those that were abused as kids or were abused as teens, and the shame of not wanting to even, thinking that if they don't talk about it, if they don't report it, then they'll eventually forget it. But that's probably not going to be the case. They're not going to forget it, and that trauma is still going to be there unless you work, even if it's like too late to report legally, whatever, you know, therapy's still there to talk about that, or just even reaching out to you all for resources, I think would be important.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Like, I think the most important thing about the healing process is knowing that you're not alone. So our motto is actually because you're not alone, because everyone deserves the chance to heal. And similarly, you know, from working at the center, I've had things about my life and my history and my family's history that have come up that because I have gained a little bit more of an education just through being so close with the sexual assault prevention and educational awareness work that we do, have been able to heal parts of myself and my life. And that's honestly just has come from working with so closely the advocates every single day, who the only thing that we are doing for each other is just showing up and checking in and treating each other like human beings. And that is the absolute most healing thing about the work that we do, I think, is just holding that space for each other. So with your question relating back to men experiencing sexual assault and healing that shame, I think that thank you for sharing with me what you've shared. And I think that we don't find solutions for problems we're not willing to talk about. And so men taking the courage and having the bravery to speak up about the things and the red flags and the traumas that they've experienced make it that much easier for other men to seek help, and then potentially can end cycles.
Definitely. So the center also has it's very welcoming for folks that don't speak English. They can call in also, and someone will help them out in Spanish. Can you talk a little bit more about that, Odalys, and then also about Estamos Contigo?
Yeah. So all the advocates have like a day or 2 days a week where we're on call. But say that there is an English speaker, only English-speaking advocate on call. Normally, we kind of communicate. We have a group chat. We kind of communicate through the group chat, like, which one of y'all is awake right now that can help me. Recently, we had our human trafficking specialist reach out to myself and my partner in Estamos Contigo, Maritza, to see if we could help translate something. Now, I wasn't available, but Maritza was, and so she was able to help. But yeah, I think... Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So Estamos Contigo, we all have different outreach projects directed towards our community that may be underserved. So Estamos Contigo is for our Hispanic and Spanish-speaking communities. And we try to go to events where there's going to be a lot of Latinos, Latinas. Recently, we went to the Chinalero event.
Explosión Chinalero?
Yes.
We just had her here 2 days ago.
I saw that, yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I just met her. So we knew that there was going to be children there. So we try to provide also kid-friendly, like, flyers. Like, not necessarily full-on, like, sexual assault flyers, but we had one that had, like, a little kid superhero. And it said, like, I have the power to keep my hands to myself. So we're trying to, like, early on kind of teach boundaries. And instead of teaching, let's not try to get raped, it's more of let's keep our hands to ourselves, let's not rape. To kind of, like, retwist that up. Because I feel like in many cultures, it's very much, there's a lot of victim blaming. And it's always like, well, why was she out late at night? Why were they out? What were they doing?
Yeah.
And I think that the work that we do, specifically in the Hispanic population, is very important because we don't talk about how machismo affects so many things, including sexual assault. And so we have an event. We do an event in April. It's called Piñata Sam. It's for Piñata and then SAM, SAAM, Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so we direct it, it's family friendly, there's piñatas, but there's like an underlying like message for the adults while the kids are having fun playing piñatas, with the piñatas, eating free food, whatnot, the adults get to kind of like learn like this is what we're doing. This is a resource for you to have. And we also invite other nonprofits in the community so that, you know, they can kind of connect with our community, period. Like, there's so many places that I didn't know about until I started working here. And so I think it connected myself, it connected my family. Like, it's just a good way for us to break that stigma of talking about sexual assault, because I know it's super uncomfortable. I know for myself, like, before working here, I would have never brought it up with my family. Like, that would have made my skin crawl. And so now I bring it up during dinner. I bring it up casually, like it's no big deal. And so I'm starting to see the change kind of trickle down. Like, my family's also being more comfortable talking about it and, you know, telling me maybe some things that they shouldn't be telling a family member. I'm like, peace and love, let's go find you a therapist. But I'm glad that I can be there for them. Like, I feel like that's my role anyways. So it's like I'm just being like an older sister for the whole community. So
I love that.
Yeah. One of the things that you mentioned, going back to the whole, like, just a Latino family and the way that they talk about abuse or all these different, like, taboo topics. One of the things that I started doing, just because when I started getting a little bit more educated and I have 3 nieces, right? The one's 18 now, but the other ones are like 7 and 10, 6 and 10. And whenever I go visit them, just like when you go to like a Mexican house to visit family members, the parents will be like, "Oh, go give your uncle a kiss."
Yes.
Go give your uncle a hug. So, like, what I started doing is, like, when someone says that, I'll be like, first of all, no kiss.
Yeah.
I don't want to do. It makes me feel uncomfortable, and then I also don't want them to, like, get used to having to give another person a kiss.
Yeah.
And then if I do give them a hug here and there, but I kind of make sure that they want to give me a hug first.
Yeah.
Instead of me being like, "Oh yeah, of course, I'm here, give me a hug." Like, I'm more like, I read them, and then if I see that they want to, then I'll give them a hug. But then if, like, they don't hug me and their parents are still saying, like, "Go give him a hug," I'll be like, "No, it's okay. He doesn't want to do it. Then don't make them do it."
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And I started changing that just because I started thinking about it more. And then I still see that in other families, though. When you go, they're like, "Go give your uncle." Go give your creepy uncle. They say creepy, like, creepy uncle. Go give your creepy uncle a kiss, and it's just like, I don't think we should get kids.
I had to give hugs to everybody, you know, and I ended up hating hugs because I was just like, you know, and Jasper's always like, "You need 8 hugs a day to survive," and I'm like, well, I'm hugged out already.
My boundaries.
And there's times, like, it goes a little bit further. Like, there's times where I won't mention any names, but, like, when you go to a party or stuff and, like, a kid wants to come play with your phone, right? I've had situations where a kid will come want to play with my phone, and then he just gets real close to me. And I'm like, yo, like, we can't teach kids to be this comfortable with strangers.
Yeah.
Like, this could lead to something worse in the future with someone that, like, they don't know what their intentions are. So it's just something to keep in mind, like, to
100%.
stop telling your kids to go kiss people when they come to your
right.
house.
Well, and it's like the best thing you can do is, like, you can just ask them, "Hey, do you want a hug? I'm about to leave. Can I give you a hug?" And if they say no, then there's no hug. End of discussion.
Yeah. But hopefully people will listen to this advice. And y'all have an art event coming up, right, Taylor? You were talking to me a little bit about it. Can you talk more about, and I think it ends in Crystal Bridges, right?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So we have partnered with the Community Creative Center, with Mighty by Design, and with Crystal Bridges, The Momentary, to provide a series of art workshops for any adult survivor of sexual assault or domestic violence in Northwest Arkansas to create a meaningful piece of artwork related to their sexual trauma or not. Like, if you're a survivor, you are welcome to come and create artwork just to create the artwork. We just ask that at the end of it, you be willing to display it at Crystal Bridges during an event called Unbroken. It's artistic triumphs of survivors, because we want survivors to show us their story, because sometimes it's easier to show somebody something through artwork than it is to tell them about your experience. And sometimes we don't want to tell our experiences, but I think these stories still, and survivors still, deserve to be empowered and uplifted and believed. So Unbroken is an opportunity for the larger community in Northwest Arkansas to come together and view artwork made by survivors, to learn about their stories. We're also going to be honoring Nate Walls with the Roger Collins Beacon of Hope Award, which is the award that the Center for Sexual Assault gives out each year. And this will be a community gallery, so everyone is welcome to come and enjoy some light snacks and refreshments and view some beautiful pieces of artwork, some of which have already been made. If you are a survivor of sexual assault or domestic violence and you want to participate, it's free to participate. I just ask that you fill out the registration form, which can be found if you email info@nwasexualassault.org. We can send you that link, as well as if you want to RSVP to attend Unbroken, I can get you that RSVP link as well.
Okay. And what date is the Unbroken event?
It is October 17th. Doors will open at 6 p.m. and the community gallery / the program will begin at 6:30. So we'll also have live performances. Natasha Devon is going to speak about some poetry that she's writing for this event.
You're mentioning all our past guests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nate Walls, Natasha Devon.
Yeah, you know them, you love them, you know.
Yeah.
So it'll be a live performances in addition to the artwork that's displayed.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Nate definitely does so much community work.
Yeah.
He always says boots on the ground. You know, it's a we thing too.
Real community
So
guy.
yeah. So that's awesome.
And a question that we ask all our guests, I'm trying to ask all our guests, just to end this episode, what are some things that you do to take care of y'all's mental health?
Oh, that's a good question. Thank you for asking that.
Of course.
What do you do, Odalys?
And everybody
Not everybody jump in.
everybody usually
Same.
pauses and they're like, do I take care of my mental health?
Yeah.
I try. It's getting harder. I'll tell you that. I think, crazy as it maybe sounds, is just listening to music really loudly and just kind of like letting myself feel whatever it is that I've been like tucking. You know, like, oh, I'm at work, I can't be sad right now. So, like, I normally do it in the car, but I'm just like, okay, now is the time. Like, there's reggaeton blasting, and I'm just like, all right, I can feel frustrated, upset, whatnot. But also,
like that meme of where it's like when a Latina's heading to work,
yes,
and it's like
that's
the
literally
speakers are like,
me. But that's how they know I'm here. Like,
Yes.
I have arrived. You hear me hit the curb, and everything's fine. Like, and that's okay. That's self-care for me, I think.
You show up. You show up as your truest, authentic self, and we love you for it.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Try to not, like, fake, like, this perfect where it's like, we all have bad days.
Right?
I'm going to be grumpy one day. Like, it'll be okay.
Yeah, I love that answer.
Yeah.
I play guitar. I paint. I've been trying to eat better and taking time to make some healthy meals and go on long walks with my dog and get out in nature. And I think I feel best when I feel connected. So really, this is one of those things for me where it's like I get to connect with other people about something that I care so passionately about, which is sexual assault prevention and healing, and then also just engaging with community. I know that word's been used a lot, but it's really important. So thank you for this opportunity to come out and speak today.
Thank you all for being here. Once again, what's the phone number where people can call if they want to report something that has happened to them or something that is happening with someone that they see?
Okay, that 1-800 number is 1-800-794-4175, and that's our 24/7 crisis hotline. So we'll answer day or night.
And currently, y'all are taking calls in English, in Spanish. Are y'all taking calls in Marshallese yet or not yet?
We do have a Marshallese advocate. So real quickly, I'm going to touch on our outreach projects. We have Grace for Survivors, which is for the faith-based communities to establish relationships with local churches and faith-based organizations. We have LGBTQ+ Project Arch, Let's Talk for the Black and African American community, Estamos Contigo for the Spanish-speaking and Hispanic community, and KKMI for the Marshallese community. We just got a brand new Marshallese advocate because our previous Marshallese advocate jumped up into our anti-human trafficking position, which we did not actually speak about at all today. But the center not only serves survivors of sexual assault, but also human trafficking. A quick little tidbit, last week we actually helped with the relocation of 14 of a total of 26 human trafficking survivors from an FBI sting here in Northwest Arkansas. And it cost the center over $8,000, and that was drained within less than 5 days. So if you have the capacity, if you've heard our message today and you've connected with our work in any way, I would encourage you to please donate. And if you can't donate, then we have volunteer and internship opportunities if you want to get involved. We also have a newsletter that's going to go out. So if you want to sign up for that, that email is info@nwasexualassault.org.
Thank you. Thank you for that information from both of you.
Thank
hopefully
you.
We're able to have some sort of positive impact on people, and hopefully people see these resources and take advantage of them. But thank you both for your time. For everybody listening, that was episode 261 of the District 3 podcast. My name is Irving.
And this is Elena.
Signing off.